You ever get handed a new piece of software at work and you just kind of ignore it? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, it turns out the reason we either jump on board with new tools or push them away has almost nothing to do with the tech itself. Today, we're going to dig into the psychology of why we do that.
To really get this, let's take a look at an example. Picture these incredible, high-tech smart buildings, like the ones popping up all over the UAE. I mean, they've got digital systems that can run pretty much everything. But here's the million-dollar question. How do you get the people who actually manage these massive buildings to log in and use all this brilliant new tech?
Now, you'd probably think the solution is more features or a slicker design, maybe better training manuals, right? But the real secret to getting people on board isn't hiding in a server room somewhere. Nope. It's right inside our own heads. It all boils down to human psychology.
And to solve this mystery, we're diving into a fascinating new study that did exactly that. Researchers went right to the source, the facility management world in the UAE, a place where this challenge is a daily reality.
So the problem is pretty straightforward. The technology is already there. These powerful, digitized systems that could make buildings way more efficient and profitable are ready to roll. But there's this huge gap between what the tech can do and how it's actually being used. The real hurdle is just getting the managers to adopt it.
So, how do you figure out what's really holding them back? Well, you ask them. And that's precisely what these researchers did. They launched a full-on investigation to crack the code of tech adoption.
And we're not talking about a quick chat over coffee. This was a big deal. They surveyed 407 facility managers, from the top executives all the way to the frontline supervisors, to get a really clear, data-driven picture of what's actually influencing their choices. Now, they didn't just ask random questions. They used this powerful psychological framework called UDOUT. It sounds super academic, I know, but just think of it as a proven roadmap for predicting how people will react to new technology by looking at a few key human drivers.
Okay, this diagram might look a little intense at first, but it shows the genius of their approach. They took every possible concern a manager could have, things like efficiency, monitoring, how hard it is to implement, and they sorted them into 4 main psychological buckets based on that UTAOT framework. It gave them a really structured way to see what was really going on.
So what did they find? What's so cool about this slide is the journey it shows. On the left, you've got the initial theory, this complex web of all the factors they thought might be important. But after they analyzed all that data from those 407 managers, the answer that popped out was, well, a whole lot simpler. And that's what you're seeing on the right, the final answer.
So, what was that simple conclusion? After all that complexity, all those questions and models, it all boiled down to one beautiful, clear answer. It turns out there are really just 2 key things that overwhelmingly predict if someone is going to use new tech.
And here they are. First up is performance expectation. It's just a fancy way of asking a really simple, practical question. Is this thing actually going to help me do my job better? The second is effort expectation. And again, a very human question. How easy is this to use? That's it. Is it useful? And is it easy?
And this isn't just a guess, it's backed up directly by the data. The study's conclusion was crystal clear. While a lot of things might play a small part, these 2 factors, how much it helps you perform and how easy it is to use, are the heavy hitters. They're the most significant drivers.
But what's almost as interesting is what didn't matter as much. Things you'd think would be a huge deal, like social influence, what your boss or your colleagues are doing, or facilitating conditions, which basically means having all the right support and resources. Turns out, those had a pretty small impact on whether a manager intended to use the tech. The decision was way more personal.
But hang on, the story's not over. The researchers found another fascinating layer to all this, a kind of managerial twist that adds some really important nuance to our simple 2-factor rule. See, it turns out that a person's seniority, their actual job title in the company, changes how much they care about is it useful versus is it easy. Not everybody weighs those 2 questions the same way. Take a look at this chart. When the researchers sliced up the data, one group just leaped off the page. Middle-level managers. They showed the highest intention to adopt these new digital tools, way more than the top brass or the first-line supervisors. So the big question is, why them? Well, the answer is all about their role. Middle managers are the ones stuck, in the middle. They have to take big ideas from the top and make them happen on the ground.
They are neck deep in the day-to-day operations, so any tool that promises to make their job more effective and easy to use is like gold to them. They feel the pain points the most. So we've gone from this complex mystery in the UAE to a simple two-part answer with a neat little twist. But the real power here is that these lessons apply to literally everyone, in any job, anywhere. So let's just boil it all down to the key takeaways. Number 1, getting people to use new tech is about psychology, not just a list of cool features. 2, success almost always comes down to those two simple questions. Is it useful? Is it easy? 3, who you're talking to matters. Those middle managers are often your biggest allies. And finally, don't just assume that because the company bought a new tool, everyone will magically use it. Personal motivation wins out over company pressure. And really, that's the bottom line. This research gives us a clear, actionable blueprint for any company, any school, any team that's trying to roll out something new. If you want people to actually use it, you have to answer those two fundamental human questions for them first. So, I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time a new app, a new platform, or some new tool lands on your desk at work, think about this. Which of those two questions, is this thing useful or is this thing easy, are you going to ask yourself first?